Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. What is the practice? Why do Buddhists ascribe to this term of practice? What does it mean? What's it entail? How is it used? Blah, blah, blah. That's what we're going to talk about today. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for study. Thank you for your practice. Yeah. I hope that this finds you well and secure. Whether you're listening to the audio podcast via the Buddhahood podcast or watching one of these videos on YouTube or Odyssey or Patreon, welcome. Practice. 5 bullet points. 1. The method of self-realization to manifest Buddha I, or Hanzon. Okay, if somebody asked you what practice was and you said method of self-realization to manifest Buddha I, otherwise Hanzon, they might not know what you're talking about. But for us, that's a good reference point, right? So let's move on. Number 2, to inculcate the Buddha way into daily samsaric life. See Bodhisattva. That's actually more what we think about when we think of the practice, right? Is our daily life, our routine. Probably what comes to mind for most of us, certainly. 3rd, training the mind to realize our innate Buddha mind. In other words, self-manifesting our enlightenment. Yes, that's true. Not essentially the thought that comes first on the tip of our tongue, but that is what we're doing. 4th, maintaining confidence and resolve for effective training and experience of the ultimate mind state of Buddhahood. That sometimes gets forgotten when we start to get lazy or have doubt or we're just not motivated, quote unquote. Yeah. It's because we forget that part of our practice is staying confident about it, staying resolved about it. How do we do that? Well, from Shakyamuni to Nichiren, study. Not study because you have to get an A on the final exam. Study just to remind yourself, right? Just like these videos. Just a reminder, oh yeah, that's how profound this is. Or yeah, that's how this works. Or yeah, I forgot that's what motivates me. We're constantly being distracted in this modern world. There's millions of voices and images and sound and all kinds of, right? The monkey minds, the screaming monkeys all around us going, look at me, look at me, look at me, pay attention to me, don't you want me? Yeah, it gets to us. We get distracted. We are samsaric beings after all. So study is a very important part of our practice, not to make us smart, but to make us aware. That study term, it has a lot of charisma to it, right? I hate school. It's not about school, even though Kwun means Kwun is a Chinese word I use for this school because it literally translates as sacred place of practice and learning. So it implies study, but it's study by action. Yeah? And that's what we do, we Buddhists. And the last bullet point, sharing the Buddha way with others to support their self-realization practice. Again, see Bodhisattva. Oh yeah, we forget that's usually the toughest one, right? Because even though we're such social creatures, exposing something that's very important and dear to us to someone else who maybe doesn't know as much about it or thinks they know a lot about it, it makes us very vulnerable. And yet, that activity can launch your confidence and your resolve, right? But as you know, I have videos about shoju, a document on the threefoldlotus.com website on shoju. It really breaks it down, simplifies it, simply by achieving your awakening little by little. You are influencing your environment. Just like I say all the time on these videos, like and subscribe. It's not a big thing to do. It's very effortless, but it does affect the propagation of this Sangha. It grows the Sangha. That's why I'm always so appreciative if you can just do that. Or just being here is an act of bodhisattva because you're honing your practice. And that's what we're talking about. So let's get into all this blah, blah, blah I wrote down and see if there's anything inspiring in this, all right? Again, this is another entry in the Buddhism reference book that I've created, available as an ebook online on threefoldlotus.com, as well as a print book at lulu.com, right? I believe, is there a link? If there isn't, I'll have to put one in. Anyway, more website maintenance. I'm always honing, and right? That's part of the job, which is why your support is so vital, right? So here we go. The mind's training method for the life of a dedicated student, another word for monk, of Shakyamuni's lifetime teachings. See monk and bodhisattva. These teachings have been recognized as stages of training over the span of some 42 years of preparatory teachings, leading to the 8 years of the culminating teachings taught near the end of Shakyamuni's lifetime. In his final years, Shakyamuni taught the essential or ultimate teaching of the direct method for self-enlightenment, the Lotus Sutra. The 6th century Common Era Chinese scholar Bodhisattva Chi-Che, also known as Tendai or Ji, due to the location of his mountain ministry, Mountain Tendai, right? Tendai, however you pronounce it, is credited with a massive endeavor of organizing Shakyamuni's lifetimes of sermons and teachings into 5 distinct periods. We won't dive down that rabbit hole. You can do more research on that if you like. But I bring it up here because in this effort, Chi-Che, also named Ji, was able to clearly eschew erroneous and added incursions into the scholarship of teachings by various regional folklore and traditions that were not original to Shakyamuni's doctrine or teachings. This was a massive endeavor, right? Some, what was it, by that time, maybe 1,000 years after Shakyamuni's extinction, yes? So there was a lot, as Buddhism was translated, his teachings translated into various languages, migrating north and south in India, around the Himalayas, into China and into southern China, right, through Burma, through Ceylon, which is no longer called Ceylon. I think that's Burma, or what's it called now? Myanmar. Keep changing the name. On and on and on. Local traditions and folk people don't let go of their myths very easily. So the history of Buddhism has a lot of these incursions, I call them, into Buddhist teachings just to make them fashionable, politically popular, right? The game is the more people you mass, the more donations you get from people, the more support from the government you get, the more so on and so forth. Popularity, ego. Yeah, just because you're a Buddhist doesn't get rid of all of that. What it does mean is that you have to be very watchful that it doesn't muddy the waters. And so, 6th century scholar Chi-Che sees all this stuff from the north and from the south, and there was a lot of arguments. We know a little bit of the history, right? The 7 schools of China all arguing for supremacy. No, we're right. No, you're not. You're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. There has to be the whole goal since Siddhartha started his research to become enlightened was a singular truth. So how could there be all these opinions? Something isn't right. And the first man in the scholarship, in the history of the scholarship of Buddhism, credited, he may not be the first one who tried because there's a constant readjustment every century or so. Somebody comes along and wait. But he took all of the scholarship throughout China, anything he could get his hands on. And not only did he get rid of, this doesn't belong, this is obviously not, but then, because he researched it so profoundly, it became obvious Shakyamuni taught in stages. Right? This group of teachings obviously belonged to the beginner whose capacity wasn't up to par to be able to get the concepts he teaches at this period of time. And this not only extends those, but leads to these. So he identified 5 distinct periods of teachings. Amazing scholarship, yeah? All right, so all under the guise of this word practice, because that was practice as well, discerning what is meaningful and truth to the teachings of Shakyamuni and the achievement of the Dharma, the experience of Buddha-ness, and anything that didn't jive with that, well, it just had to go. Well, we're still doing that. That's what this channel is about, getting rid of the bull crap, yeah? People keep wanting to shove their myths into this, and there's no need for it. Stop it. This is very clear teaching, so let's keep it that way. So we're still doing this job. That's part of our practice. All right. In the Lotus Sutra, there can be found direct instruction on the mission, the behavior, and the training of Bodhisattva life. Entire chapters are almost labeled these very things. This is the life of the preacher or the teacher or the Bodhisattva, right? It's translated various ways because of cultural bias. We're still dealing with the stumbling blocks, not only of people's opinions, but of language itself. So we have to look beyond the language and see clearly the meaning. And it just jumps right out at you once you get past those words, yeah? And the training of Bodhisattva life and pursuit of the Buddha way. The instructions on specific tasks, like the exhortation to read, recite, copy, disseminate this sutra. That's right off the pages of the Lotus Sutra, right? There's no muddiness in that. And the critically essential concepts of the 3,000 realms, which inform the moment-to-moment nature of the engine of life. See the engine of life. Nichiren talks about it all the time, yeah? Also in those discrete moments, moment to moment, the essential truth that our true nature, our process of life, our capacity to realize this amazing experience of life, it's built in, it's inherent in the process itself. Buddha-ness. We don't have to create it. We don't have to hunt it down. We just need to realize it, uncover it. And not, as we tend to think, as the providence or identity of a single individual, like Shakyamuni, right? Or any other name. See samsara, the way we identify things, right? The great Bodhisattva Nichiren of the 13th century Japan is identified through scholarship as our modern age mentor for our correct practice of the teachings of the Lotus Sutra method for self-realization of Buddha-ness. Fact, yeah? That's what we're doing here. Nichiren provides us with a physical mandala, the scroll behind me, of the Treasure Tower chapter of the Lotus Sutra to aid in our focused efforts to instantiate into each moment our inherent Buddha awareness. This awareness is variously named Buddhahood, Buddha mind, Buddha-ness, or simply Buddha. The consistent effort and determination to maintain this awareness develops our consciousnesses over time, all 9 of them, and is known as the Buddha wisdom that informs our daily life and actions as bodhisattva. You see, Buddha wisdom isn't something that flutters down from the heavens. Buddha wisdom is simply the experience and the memory, the realization in your mind of the experience of Buddhahood. When you chant to your mandala and you really get into it, and you see that mandala kind of shapeshift or vibrate or whatever it does visually, it's a little unsettling, and you think, what's going on? It's because your mind is transmigrating from this samsaric thing, the scroll, the thing, and it's entering Gohonzon mind, where everything is moment to moment, not permanent, not static, not just the same thing all the time, constantly refreshing itself, moment to moment, and in that mental space, everything becomes something different, not something, but an experience of Buddha-ness. It's liberated from ownership, from possessing, from getting more of, from getting less of. All of that goes away. All those monkeys shut up. And suddenly you're in Buddha-ness. And it's a little unsettling at first. Not sure what to think of that. Well, stop thinking of it and be in it. That's the goal. Namo myo renge-kyo, namo myo renge-kyo. It's happening. I'm in it. Stay in it as long as you can. The rest of your day will be different. The rest of your life will be different because it will permeate all the other consciousnesses. You will experience your life and all the life around you differently. Embrace it. Read, copy, and propagate it, right? Just as the sutra says. With that experience and the way it modifies what you thought you knew, that's Buddha wisdom. That's a samsaric thing, right? As we develop our own enlightenment, our conditions, our tendencies move toward our Buddha wisdom and invariably influence our environment. How could it not? Your presence makes a difference. How your presence is, behaves, moves through samsara, affects, just like waves, or whatever you want to call the reverberations of your being, they touch everything in your environment. Our inseparability with our environment becomes more and more palpable and tangible, eventually attracting other living beings toward us for assistance in the Buddha way. Often this happens without these other beings even being aware that they are drawn to us due to the self-realization they seek, or that they have a sense of that self-realization within ourselves in our own practice. It's like a light attracting life around it, yes? Not like the sun in our solar system, holding all the planets. The foundation to this practice is the invocation of the very mind state of Buddha that we want to realize. If you want to realize Buddhahood, invoke it. It's already there. You just need to wake it up. Not waking Buddha up, really awaking, getting the other consciousness to get out of the way. This is why when we chant to our mandala, we single-mindedly chant to meet, see, be Buddha. That's the only thing that you're thinking when you chant, other than pronouncing the gongyo correctly, keeping the rhythm. That's all designed to push the monkeys out of the way so that you only are focused on your Buddha. Why else practice? All the other stuff is incidental. If you need things in your life, they will come to you as long as you're operating from your enlightenment. You can't force fit, shoehorn your desires into Buddha-ness. That's exactly what we're trying to cast aside. It's in the way. Though the Lotus Sutra itself repeats this instruction in each chapter and its exhortations to embrace, read, and recite this sutra, it was Nichiren who formulated this as the practice, the essential practice, of invoking the title of the sutra itself. He didn't invent it. All the way back through Dengyo and Miaolo and Tendai and before him, the practice of invoking, singing, chanting the title of a sutra, Nichiren didn't invent that. He formalized it as the universal method so that anyone, which was the goal Siddhartha started out with, any being could manifest. If it's the truth, the full truth, then it should be available to anyone and anywhere in any situation, yeah? Well, that's what this is. This chant or recitation is called a daimoku, or the invocation that represents the entirety of the teaching of the Lotus method for direct and immediate experience of Buddha. That's what the chant, the singing is about. It's not the lyrics of a song. It's an invocation of the entire Dharma, the invocation of that Dharma in your life. Adding to the 5 characters, Myoho Renge Kyo, of the treasure tower, and the title of the sutra, the 2 preface characters of Na and Mu, see Na Mu in this book, Nichiren renders the chant of Na Mu Myoho Renge Kyo. This is the formulation that Nichiren has created for us. He recognizes that the truth is Myoho Renge Kyo. It's there for anyone to read, see, ingest, read, recite, so on and so forth. This is what Shakyamuni taught the last 8 years of his life. That teaching's been around for centuries and centuries and centuries, millennia. But what Nichiren says is, well, that's it. That's the key. So what we need to do when we invoke this, Myoho Renge Kyo, is be present fully, be committed. All these stories, as I've said before in previous videos, the personages, they're created to be exemplars of the kind of commitment, the strong will, strong mind of dedication that comes from and is necessary for, both ways, when we chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, we're not just whistling Dixie. We have an intent, and that's the key. Nichiren says, yes, Myoho Renge Kyo, but if your intention isn't to realize your Buddha-ness, then you're just singing a cool song. You're not ingesting this, manifesting this, right? When an Olympic athlete wants to do the high jump or pole vault or whatever, or a football player wants to score a touchdown, You can't just go, well, I'll catch the ball if you throw it to me. Okay, I'll run around. No. If someone's going to be successful in life, maybe you're an engineer, maybe you're a pilot, you better damn well be sure that you know why you're doing what you're doing. Don't you have a goal in mind? Many don't. Many just fall through the motions, just like life. Some people just wait for things to happen and then they react. That's not a life. That's a leaf tumbling in the wind. Some people like to live that way. I don't think they do. They just don't realize that their life is so much more. That's why Na-Mu. Here and now, I manifest Buddha. Oh, what's Buddha? Myoho Renge Kyo. Na-Mu Myoho Renge Kyo. That's Nichiren's doctrine. And so there's 7 characters, not 6. Don't get lazy. Na-Mu Myoho Renge Kyo, to include the honorific and the personal dedication to the Buddha of our presence in this moment to realize the ultimate law of life. See the engine of life. It's in this book. Per the vehicle method of Myoho Renge Kyo. You can have the best mirror in the world, but if you don't bother to walk into the room and look at it, what good is the mirror? Na-Mu Myoho Renge Kyo. Additionally, Nichiren adds the recitation of the 2 specific chapters of the Lotus Sutra as he described in his Gosho, the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra. Notice the Gosho is titled the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra, and in that instruction, he recommends the recitation of Gangyo. And he gives us 3 different forms. This is that many people don't know this or haven't studied this, but it's useful for you. I've had some of you ask me, what if I can't do a full Gangyo every morning because I've got a new job and I've got to get up earlier and blah, blah, blah. Of course, life is life. You're going to have obstacles. You keep going. Maybe you have to abbreviate your Gangyo for a little while until you get the rhythm back and the fortune in your life, and you inculcate this new job and the opportunities it gives you, and your life condition continues to rise, and suddenly you find yourself with more time to do Gangyo. It'll come. Don't be so impatient. So here's the Gosho. It's very short. To accept, hold, read, recite, uphold, read, recite, and take delight in, and protect all the 8 volumes and 28 chapters of the Lotus Sutra is called the comprehensive practice. And I tell people, if time management is an issue, then, pick a day once a month. Pick like the first Saturday of every, or whatever day, where you find you have time, and read the entire Lotus Sutra. Go to your Butsudan, open it up, chant for a little while, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Make sure you're aligned with your Buddha-ness. And then read aloud, if you like, the entire Lotus Sutra in English, French, Spanish, whatever language you're comfortable in. That's a major activity, isn't it? And then chant and close the book, and that's your special monthly comprehensive practice, right? Or do it on your birthday, or do it on New Year's Day. Pick, the more you can do it, the better, but even if it's just once a year, what a special event, yeah? Start off the new year with a complete reading of the Lotus Sutra. That makes it special. And you can dedicate that day for it. Going on with the Gosho. To accept, uphold, and protect the expedient means chapter, the Holben, the 2nd chapter, and the lifespan chapter, the 15th or 16th, depending on the version you have, is called the abbreviated practice. Mind you, all of this is in addition to the daimoku, right? So the form that we usually do with the 5 meditations in the morning and the 3 in the evening, it's kind of somewhere in between. It's comprehensive only in those 2 chapters, and it's really an abbreviated practice, but we repeat it for each meditation. So it's a strong practice. But what if you just recited the expedient means, recited all 3 sections of Gongyo, for instance, yeah? And then you go through each meditation, all 5 of them, independently, and then you go off to work. That's the abbreviated practice. So you're golden. Yeah, you're good. Now, at minimum, Nichiren says, and simply to chant one 4-phrase verse of the daimoku, and to protect those who do so, right? That's that attitude again, attitude and intent, is called the essential practice. Hence, among these 3 kinds of practice, comprehensive, abbreviated, and essential, the daimoku is defined as the essential practice. These are Nichiren's words, lifted from his Gosho, the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra, if you want to look it up for yourself. Nichiren basically defines Gongyo, or the practice, which is what we're talking about today, essential to chant the Daimoku, at very least. If you can, recite these 2 chapters of the Lotus Sutra to ground you in the preparatory and the culminating teachings, the 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. Add that to your daimoku, and that just entrenches your Buddha wisdom a little further, right? It's an abbreviated practice, but it's a strong practice. If you can, do a full Gongyo. Wow. It's an indicator of your fortune to have that kind of time management, to spend that much time with your Buddha nature, right? It's precious. This is why I say all the time, savor your practice. Don't see it as a drudgery. The moment that happens, the moment you start feeling like, oh, I got to do Gongyo, change your attitude. Do some studying. Read a Gosho. Do something, because that's not helping you. That's your monkey mind saying, come over here. Let's throw some poo around. You want a banana? Yeah, in a minute. Okay? So, to close out, in total, this is referred to as Gongyo, right? See Gongyo, or the liturgy of Nichiren doctrine. Practice daily, this is our effort to influence our constant stream of moment-to-moment karmic momentum with our maximal awareness and potential. The practice. See how simple? It truly is. But all of these words are really, it's all about simply feeling engaged. Relish this opportunity to enlighten yourself. Right? Regular old samsara, it piles up on you and it brings you down, but it's your mind doing that. And if your mind is doing that, then who's in control? You are. You can change that. You can alter that. You can take the wheel. It's yours to take. You're built with it. So the practice is simply realizing your Buddha-ness. Congratulations. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Be kind to yourself. Take care of your health. Next up, we'll talk about qi, not an entirely Buddhist term, but one that I've used several times in the writings that I provide, and an interesting understanding of life energy from a different point of view. Useful. But for now, practice. I hope there was a lot of good information in here for you to consider, to think about. Keep your practice strong. Savor it. It's an amazing opportunity every time you do it. I'm proud of you, if my pride means anything to you. I'm just offering you my deep gratitude for being a practitioner. Okay? And in that vein, again, like and subscribe, very helpful. If you can buy some ebooks to help you on your way, like this book we're talking about right now, then you can get it electronically, very inexpensively. Or if you like, I like solid books, but boy, print costs are high, shipping is high, may not even be available in the country where you are. So that's why the electronic version is so handy. Threefoldlotus.com, right? Ebooks. Lulu.com. All the addresses and links are in the description of the video, and they're on threefoldlotus.com. And those of you patrons, oh, I'm going to do, hopefully I remember later today, now that the book I think has reached its final version, there'll always be additions in the future, but it's stable right now. I think for those of you who are patrons through Patreon, and I think there's a couple of you on PayPal, hopefully I'll be able to pick up on you guys. I want to send you an ebook, an e-version of this book, just as a thank you. So be looking for that in your email. In the meantime, as I said, the rest of you, take care of your health, be kind, and I'll see you in the next one. Guaranteed. Bye for now.